Hey everybody, welcome back. Revenge is a dish best served petty. Compilation! Oh! I incorporated a piece into a wedding cake. It was a dual stroke from my old boss and the bridezilla. Nice. 2 birds with 1 stone, eh? Sick. The bakery I ran was a nightmare, and after giving the owners a month's notice, they started very verbally giving everyone raises in front of me. Part of the reason I was leaving was because they offered me a $17 an hour raise if I stayed, after not giving me one for 3 years. Where was that money the last 3 years? Well, they're not gonna give it to you until you literally lose your mind and wanna quit. Duh. I'm a bit bitter, in case you can't tell.
You don't say.
They also started to allow my front staff to collect tips, which I had been fighting for 5 years. The bride for my final event was a nightmare, so I snuck a drawing of a in the middle tier of her cake, which was covered with scroll work. The wedding was my last day, so I delivered it and never looked back. I heard someone in the wedding party notice and the bride had a fit. There was my raise.
Boom. Roasted.
There you go. There you go. I feel like that was worth it.
Totally.
So it was a photo of a Wait. A drawing of a Okay. But you know what would have really worked? If you used the icing and drew a It's like a 3D, you know, and then you really gotta look. And then it could look less deliberate than putting like an actual drawing for next time.
Are you writing this down? You should be writing this down.
I'm a classroom scheduler at a university. One faculty member in particular treated me like a doormat, constantly asking for little favors last minute and never thanking me. Ooh, it's the no thank yous for me. But it's your job. So one semester I put her giant lecture in the worst classroom on campus. 5 flights of stairs with barely any room to maneuver between the front desk and the board. She didn't get any better, but it did make me feel better to listen to her complain about the room all semester.
Life's not fair, is it?
So sweet, so petty. I quit a particularly toxic job after just 3 weeks. Excessive emails was one of my reasons for leaving. So in my exit email, I dropped the worst offenders' email addresses as the sole contact for all future and ongoing queries. I flooded her inbox with over 200 extra emails a day, and she deserved every single one of them. See, that one stings. There's nothing that kicks my anxiety into gear like an email that really didn't need to be sent. As for my last email, shut the fuck up.
Dude, chill.
And this is your reminder to not send too many emails. And subscribe. I used to work at a department store with a woman who was incredibly mean. She was nasty to the younger staff, always demanded people buy her lunch, and was just generally obnoxious. She always used to keep her purse on top of a tall shelf in our back office. One day, after she had been really rude to me, I went and took an ESA alarm sticker that we used on the perfume boxes and placed it sticky side up on the shelf. When she came back from lunch and put her purse on the shelf, the alarm sticker stuck to the bottom. For the next 3 days, she sent door alarms off at every store she went in and out of and had no idea why. Did they make her, like, dump out her purse? It would have been really awkward if she, like, got caught stealing because of you. That would have been the cherry on top. I would have loved that. That also kicks my anxiety into gear when I, like, accidentally set off those alarms. And then everyone at the store looks at you like you're a dirty little thief.
Hey! Stop, thief!
I plugged a mini wireless keyboard into my boss's computer. When he had a customer, I would add an additional letter when he typed his password. Locked him out of the computer every time. See, that would work unless there was like a show password kind of option. Yeah, but nicely done. Delicious. New sound unlocked? I didn't even know I could do that. I'm even wearing the like pink petty sweatsuit. Little Miss Petty Piggy. I was told I was finally getting a hard-earned promotion at my current company over a year ago. A few weeks later, my manager and skip level manager told me I was being denied the promotion because of something I said. They wouldn't tell me what.
Just your mama.
Out of spite, I went to HR and reported a previous incident of when my skip level manager angrily grabbed my arm during our company all hands. I got the promotion and that skip level manager is no longer with the company. And that's what's up. The things you choose to not tell HR, always keep things in your back pocket. But don't threaten, just do.
Those are very wise words.
One day I was very strapped for money, so for lunch, all I had brought was a big jar of applesauce. Someone ate all my applesauce and left the empty jar on the table. Oh,
Not the applesauce!
I did what anybody would have done. I opened the refrigerator in the break room and proceeded to throw out everything while yelling at anyone within earshot. If I'm not eating, nobody was going to be eating. I was summoned into the manager's office afterward. The whole thing was captured by the camera directly above the refrigerator. Luckily, they thought my freakout was hilarious and they bought pizza for everyone. Oh, well, that had a happy ending. This is why we always need cameras above the staff refrigerators, because there's usually like repeat offenders. It's always one person that's going and taking everybody's shit from their refrigerator. And also, I feel like more companies should invest in, food for their employees. I think that there should be fridges and stocked fridges with like soda and water and snacks. It's a business expense. This is what I've learned running my own business. All of that stuff is a business expense. You're gonna give that money to the government anyway. You might as well give it to your employees and make sure they don't go hungry. Because if you're not paying them enough so that they can afford lunch, then you need to provide that lunch or pay them more. One of the two.
That was beautiful.
My husband was the sole IT guy for our small school system. I had a principal who was harassing me daily. So my husband changed my principal's password. It still makes me smile 20 years later. Honestly, this is the kind of love I aspire. This petty love, where someone does petty things for you because they love you so much. I know you're out there. I know you exist, my petty soulmate. Am I the a-hole for suing my boss for damages after getting out of my contract? I worked at this company for 6 years. It's a small privately owned business, but due to the nature of the work we do, I had to sign a non-compete agreement upon getting hired. Well, about 6 months ago, I got a job offer from a company that does similar, but not directly competing work. Better pay, better benefits, shorter commute, basically an all-around upgrade for me. I told them about my non-compete, so they were aware of it, but since the company isn't a direct competitor, I figured my non-compete agreement would not apply. I asked a lawyer about it to make sure. He said that there was enough difference between the two businesses and no similar clients that he thought I would be okay.
Moving behind the rocks!
Keep going. You're good. And stop.
Since I didn't want to completely burn bridges, I talked to my boss about it. I told him I had been offered a job and asked if he would sign a release from my non-compete so I could take this new job without fear of any reprisal. He refused and decided to fire me the next day. I talked with the company that gave me the offer, and they started to second guess whether or not my non-compete would actually apply, and they withdrew their offer until I got my non-compete sorted out. So now I'm unemployed and facing a court battle against my former boss. My lawyer and I put together a case, give my boss the opportunity to just sign a release and get it over with, or fight us in court. He opted for court. Ooh, okay.
Bring it on.
I didn't know he could be that petty and vindictive. If you don't want people to find other jobs that pay better, pay people better. It's not that hard. We ended up winning after asking for a summary judgment, and my non-compete was ruled invalid and not applicable to this other job. So I told the other company and I accepted the original offer for them. This is where I might be the a-hole though. My lawyer asked me if I wanted to try and sue my old boss for damages. Lost wages, unused benefits, I had over 200 hours of saved paid time off, court and legal fees, wrongful termination, etc. Initially, I didn't want to since I had won and I got what I wanted. But the more I thought about it, I decided to go ahead and sue him for damages. So I had my lawyer draw up a suit and we went ahead with it. My boss was livid. Excuse me, former boss. He called me and went on a huge rant about how ungrateful I am, that I would be nowhere without him. Oh, that's just always the ticket, isn't it? They always do that. About how dare I sue him when he's done so much for me. I told him he had the chance to just let me go, but he opted to fight. So in a way, he brought this on himself. I ended up winning that suit as well, and he had to pay everything. I made out pretty well. Oh, I'm so happy for you. I talked with an old coworker from there a while ago, and he said that since I won, everyone else there that signed a non-compete is trying to get out of them, and my old boss is pissed. My old boss thinks I turned everyone against him. I just wanted to advance my career, but I kind of do feel like an a-hole about it since my old boss did give me a good opportunity when I started there. It's literally just business. Like, people really need to learn to not take business personally. People will always choose a better opportunity that will give them a better life. So if you don't want people to search for better opportunities, pay them better and give them no reason to leave. I dub thee not the a-hole. But let's see what Reddit had to say. Not the a-hole. My boss was livid. Ex-boss, that's what's up. I'm ungrateful that I would be nowhere without him, like on the streets, because of that time he fired you. Oh, Interesting take. You didn't cost him money. The legal system and his own arrogance did. He thought he was in the position of power. He was wrong, and clearly your legal system agrees. And I'm sure you worked hard for him. That's the deal. They train you and pay you. In return, they get your labor. He got what he paid for. You owe him nothing. Do you think he thought twice about firing you since he'd given you such a good opportunity? Do you think he thought for a second about you and your life, while for all he knew, you were homeless, jobless, and broke?
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
That's a good point. Very good point. He seemed to believe that by signing a non-compete, no one would ever try to get a different job. I don't understand how it took so long for someone to call him out on it. There must have been someone before me that turned down a better job offer because of the non-compete he made them sign. Jobs are always temporary. Unless someone really, really likes a job, you should always assume that someone's gonna leave. That's the way to go about it. All right, clearly Reddit agrees. Not the a-hole. Moving the f*** on. My friend and I were finally leaving a very toxic job after many years of abuse from our boss. We created fake emails to leave very detailed negative reviews on Google of the shop. The boss advertised everything was fresh and made that day, though really it could be 4 days old baked goods. We called the shop out for this and so many other things. It got to the point where our boss was stressed reading the reviews to us in meetings. In my last 2 weeks at the job, I was tasked with retraining every employee with these reviews, which were written by us, exclusively in mind for the training. Instead of training the employees, I just talked with them about the job, our boss, and all the inside drama and secrets at the shop. I also disclosed everyone's salary. So everyone could know how disgusting our boss was about who they gave raises to, because he only gave raises to his favorites. More than half the staff left within 3 months after I left. Oh, dude. That is how you watch a company implode. If you really want to f over a company, tell all the employees how much they get paid. And watch it. You know that scene in Mean Girls when the whole school is just like rabid dogs going after each other in the hallway? Let's roll a clip. Yeah, that's what would happen. But instead of getting mad at each other, they probably will, but getting mad at each other and being petty toward each other, they'll get mad at the boss. I work at a gym, and if someone is being a jerk, I will change their account number on their card, so the next time they come in, they'll be held up at the door trying to figure out what's wrong. It's the small things, the little ones, the little petty quirks. When I was working for Domino's, we had a regular that would always order 5 minutes before we closed for delivery. He was always hard to reach once we arrived, rude, and never tipped. One night, he ordered like 5 20-ounce sodas, nothing else. I double bagged them and shook them violently for about 3 minutes before I knocked on his door. Excellent. Dyed my hair blue so boss would stop blaming me for hair in customers' food. Oh, that is genius. Oh, that's so genius. Because the hair that will be in the food will obviously not be yours. Unless it's blue, obviously, but... I used to work for a sandwich shop. All the other employees were Indian women with very long black hair. Mine was sort of similar, I suppose. Medium length and brown. But every time a customer would complain about a long black hair in the food, my boss would immediately blame me without any hesitation or investigation, despite the fact that I was the only person who wore my hair up and netted. Sounds kind of like racist. So one day I dyed my hair blue with the sole purpose of not being blamed for black hair being in the food. You guessed it, it happened. And how huffy and annoyed my boss got when I said it couldn't be my hair because mine is blue was beyond amusing. Yes.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
I called my bright pink hair my food safety hair. Great way of getting around strict dress codes at work. Yeah, my hair isn't a natural shade, but we aren't allowed natural shade band-aids, are we, Mr. Boss Man? Yep, I got blamed for this. I had short brown hair. I worked with guys who had long hair, so I dyed mine red. Nope, chef, mine's red. This seems to be like not that uncommon. Boss didn't want to approve a short leave, so I instead availed a long one. I'm sorry, this became too long. It's okay, I'll forgive you. I work with a large organization having multiple branches in every state across the country. I'm the head of one such branch. My boss, the regional manager, controls around 15 such branches in a region cluster. During August this year, I asked my boss for a 5-day leave for September, which he had promptly granted. I then informed HR about it, suggesting him to temporarily arrange for somebody to run my branch for the week. This was required because 1, due to some corporate directives, some of the branches, including mine, could not run without a branch head being physically present at the office. And 2, enabling someone from inside the branch to substitute for me wasn't possible due to technicalities. HR assured me there would be plenty of time to arrange for my temporary substitute. So I didn't think much about it, since anyway, it was his job to take care of it in case of leaves. My dumb didn't imagine it would be crucial to get leave approved formally / in writing, because before this, nobody had ever faced something like what I was about to experience. Always get it in writing. And even then, even when it's in writing, people seem to not get it, you know? Like, even when faced with screenshots upon screenshots, people still try to like tiptoe around the writing part. Come the last working day before I go on my leave, I asked our HR who would take care of my branch in my absence. He flatly stated there was no one available in the region cluster who he could depute to my branch in my stead, as many employees in our region are on leave because of festivities this week. Me, you're telling me this now? I fail to understand how that's my problem given that my leave was already granted a month ago. HR, have a discussion with the boss. I called him up. Apparently the HR had already had a talk with him regarding this matter before I even called him. Regional manager, how could you intend to go on a leave during this time when we are already under so much pressure due to the sudden staff shortage? On top of that, our company's audit is due next month. Looking for where the it's your problem, can't see it. But you already approved my leave 1 month ago. No, I'm sure I must have said I would think about it. Absolutely not. I wouldn't have booked my tickets and planned my travel to my hometown to see my parents if you hadn't confirmed the leave. This went to and fro for a while, and I was exasperated from this argument. By the end, I felt really humiliated that I had almost had to beg for a leave. Me, fine, I won't go. At that point, I had arguably felt my dignity was more important than a few days off work. Regional manager, huh? Okay. He was at a total loss of words at my sudden giving up. So, my leave stood canceled. My tickets had to be canceled. Money wasted, and I was left utterly exhausted of this BS. Oh, I feel like there's something brewing. There's something brewing here. I can smell it. I can smell petty revenge a brewing. A few days later, we got a notification for the yearly interstate staff soccer tournament being arranged by corporate. If selected, I'd be playing for my state. And the tournament from selections till the final would go on for a month. Soccer happens to be one of my favorite sports. So guess who just applied and got selected in the state team? Now here's the funny thing about sports and activities that are arranged by our company's corporate center. The top management takes these seasonal events very seriously. If you are a participating employee, nothing or nobody on this planet could make you rather go back to sit on your chair and mind your job instead of participating. So, as it appeared, although not on a leave per se, I was all set to go on a month-long tour across the country, playing soccer without having to worry about managing a branch and getting paid in the process. Even irrespective of my leave fiasco, this was a good thing to get involved in. As some of you have expressed a curiosity, extravagant events like this are not unheard of in big Fortune 500 companies. My organization is a large conglomerate and the third largest employer in our country. Still, it always beats my logic that they can spare some 150 to 200 employees for a month for fun, yet there are some regions that are plagued with staff scarcity. I find it odd that they were willing to let you go and play soccer for the company and take a bunch of time off, but they weren't willing to get your shifts covered for the time that you needed to take off for a vacation. My boss's office was eventually informed about my participation in the event and was advised to excuse the participant from his duties until the tournament was over. The day before leaving, I drove down to the regional manager's office to formally inform him from my end about me competing in the event and ensuing my month-long absence that is to be expected. He looked expressionless and just feebly asked me, "Why did you really participate?" Why do you think? Me, well, you see, had I happened to be at my hometown on a short leave this week, I wouldn't have been able to participate in the tournament at all, or even try for the selections. Sad I couldn't go on that leave. The defeated look on his face was priceless. Sweet bonus, I forgot to add, one of the matches were hosted at my hometown. That was great. Excellent. It just goes to show that companies will always look out for their best interests, and they don't really care about giving you the time off, even though they could. You see, they can give him a month off to play soccer because it's in the best interest of the company, but they can't give him 5 days off to go and see his parents because it's not in their best interests. This happened to me once, and I requested, a Christmas vacation because people usually take Christmas off, but not in retail. No, you're kind of expected to work up until 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve and then again on Boxing Day. Some people even went in on Christmas to prepare for Boxing Day, and I literally just said that I just wasn't coming in. My boss said that it wasn't approved and that they needed me on Christmas, and that's why they hired me, and I said, well, I'm gonna be in Mexico, so.
Okay, it's been a hard month for everyone.
I had to teach my boss that even though she is my boss, I am not her secretary. This is gonna be fun. So fun. I have a good boss, but sometimes you have to teach them a thing or two, like how to respect your time and boundaries. My boss is becoming the B word from micromanaging hell. I know that all too well. That rhymed. Where I used to be able to do my job, I can no longer do it without constant interruptions of micromanagement. That's what I never understood about micromanagement. If you want me to be productive, constantly bothering me and pestering me and making me angry to the point where I'm so pissed off that I don't even want to work and I'm distracted because I'm like having an issue with my boss, that does not encourage productivity. That just ensures that I'm going to be sitting on my computer fuming, collecting screenshots for the one day that I will eventually leave or maybe call the employment board. Boss has an office near mine. If I handle a business call, she listens and tries to control the call from his office. It is impossible for people to do more than one thing at a time. I cannot listen to two people at a time when one is on the phone. One conversation depends on verbal skills only, and the other is messed up trying to use verbal and nonverbal. The customer should be served, not the boss. I sort of have dealt with this pretty well and clever. When I'm on the phone with someone and eavesdropping boss starts to try to control a simple phone call with no, don't do that, do blank, who's that, ask them, tell them, I become polite, cover the phone, and say to my boss, I have this handled. If boss persists with the micromanagement crap, I then have to cover the phone and say, Mr. Customer, can you please hold on a moment? It's too loud and busy here to understand your needs. If it's okay with you, I'm going to transfer you to my boss with a private office. Boss then says, no, can't you see I don't have time for that call? Clearly you do if you're sitting on the call micromanaging. I transfer the call at that moment and walk away. Boss handles the call, which they wanted to do in the first place. Next time boss interrupts me on a call, I cover the phone, say, can you hold on 1 second, and politely ask the boss, do you want this one? Look at boss and wait till their attention goes back to the desk when I then can handle the call. Can you copy files from XXXXX and scan them to me? Over and over I hear this. Now you do things for your boss, but when they run their own small business on company time, they tend to take you on as an unwilling partner, asking you to do things they don't have time for, but then you don't have time for your job. Most of our documents are PDF, and our company will not provide us the ability to edit stuff. So when I can't get my job done, I wait until boss wants a document scanned to them. I wait for a one-pager that I know they'll want to use electronically. I retrieve the file. 50% of the time the boss is in the office. I pull the page I want and I scan the thing. But the end of the document goes in the scanner first, so the document will go to the boss upside down and not usable by them. I then announce I'm going on break. Would you please return the document to the file? They get the file they can't use, and I'm not there for them asking me to rescan. Oopsie. Bonus revenge. Boss has to go to the scanner to rescan his document. Once he handles it, he is obligated by company culture to return it to the file, so I comply with his micromanagement demands, and he ends up doing what he should have done in the first place. Oh, yes, that's smart. Yes, that's smart. Or like, let's say you have a boss that wants to micromanage your time, all right? I had a boss that made me log my poo breaks. He wanted to know how long I was taking in the bathroom to poop. So rather than logging them, I just told them every time. And then I told them when I came back. And then I just asked permission to do absolutely everything so that they would be distracted.
It's evil.
This is called managing up and is a basic office survival kit that only a few people seem to have. I love how we call it an office survival skill, implying that we need the skill in order to survive in a corporate environment. Otherwise, we will die. I have to pay to print personal stuff at work. So do you, boss. Many years ago, I worked for an organization providing frontline customer service. It was a decent place to work, but our manager had lots of rules. One of the rules was that we could not do any personal printing with the printers at work. If we did, we were expected to pay 50 cents per page for black and white printing and $1 per page of color. I'm not sure who made this rule, but the manager was constantly reminding us. So who would get the money is what I want to know.
Tell me!
Our desks were not assigned, meaning any day you could be sitting at any desk depending on your assigned tasks for the day. One day I was interviewing for another job within the organization, but at another location. Prior to the interview, the manager of the other location asked me if I'd mind printing a copy of my resume and bringing it with me as their printers were down for the day. I said no problem, so I figured I'd print it at work since it was work related. I was sitting at a desk that did not have a printer at it. The closest printer was located between my manager's desk and an employee's desk, so I printed it and stood up to go get it. Before I go to the printer, my manager got there first. Ugh. My print job went ahead of hers. When she saw what I had printed, she said, "OP, this looks like a personal print job." I explained it wasn't, but she disagreed and said it had nothing to do with day-to-day work. I had to pay $2 for 4 black and white pages. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I begrudgingly paid up. I asked her what happened to the money, and she said she always put it in the Christmas party fund. All right. This is what I don't get about this. Office supplies are a business expense. And like a big company, like a company with multiple employees, like that's not something you need to charge for. It's a legitimate business expense. A few weeks later, I was sitting at the desk with the printer at it. It was lunchtime and everyone except my manager agreed to go to a nearby restaurant for lunch. I walked out of our building and realized I forgot my wallet, so I ran back and got it. When I got to my desk, I could hear the printer going. I was curious what was being printed as it was spitting out page after page. I quickly glanced at the pile and saw at least 100 pages printed in color announcing a sweet 16 for Trista, our manager's daughter. Interesting. Very interesting. It very obviously belonged to my manager. My manager came out of the bathroom a moment later and she seemed shocked to see me standing there. I picked up the pile and passed it to her and told her our Christmas party fund was going to be getting a big boost. She said nothing but looked really uncomfortable. A few weeks later, our district manager made his quarterly visit. He talked about the upcoming Christmas party and how excited he was for it. I decided it was time for some petty revenge. I raised my hand and said, "I was just wondering how much we've accumulated this year for the Christmas party from print jobs." Oh, yeah, that's what I thought too. He looked so confused and asked me to explain what I meant, so I told him our manager's rule. He got really quiet and said he would have to review this. The next day, my manager sent an email saying the printing rule was something she was misinformed on and would be abolished immediately. Me, being the little disturber I am, hit reply all and asked what would happen to the already accumulated funds. Someone else said we should have a nice healthy fund for a pizza lunch and everyone agreed. The next day I hear my manager ordering 10 pizzas for lunch. Also used her own personal credit card to pay for it all. Right, because she's been keeping all the money for herself. Do I think she was pocketing the printing money all along? Absolutely. But it was fun making her sweat and then having her spend nearly $300 the next day to make up for it. A pizza party that was actually worth it, lol. Nurses everywhere rejoice at the concept. I honestly think that they should have paid you back. Cause like, realistically, do any of us really like office pizza parties? Like, I'd rather just have $30 if you don't mind. One time I had a boss that instead of giving us a Christmas bonus would like make us go to like a holiday party. When the IRS knocked on the door, I told them where he was staying. Sneaky. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. I know I'm the queen of petty, but I don't know if I'm the type of person to lash out after a breakup. If it's over, it's over. You know, like I won't even talk to the guy anymore. It's like, it's done for me. The thing that makes me feel the best is to just cut a person off completely. And I really wish that I could be friends with my exes. I really do wish that. But then there's a few of them that are just like, you know, I'm good. I'm good. I won't go out of my way to be mean to someone or get back at them, but I will also cut them off. That's about as petty as I will get when it comes to a breakup. But I'm very curious to know, what's the pettiest thing you've ever done after a breakup? Did they deserve it? Did they not? Let me know in the comments. And right now, we are getting to some people who got revenge on their exes. Former fiance cheated, changed locks, and dumped her shit outside while she was at her grandmother's funeral. Oh, that's cold. That's cold. It was raining. To be fair, that just happened to be when I found out. I thought about being the bigger person and waiting for a better time, but then I remembered she was a cunt. Oh, and the guy she cheated with paid me not to tell his wife. Wow, both winners. Couple of winners over here. Couple of wieners. I waited for the check to clear and then sent her all the proof I had. That's petty. That's petty, honey. Yeah, but I mean, she was your fiance, so I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I sure as hell would be pissed off, so all the power to you. I sewed raw tuna into the bottom of his curtains. Wish I could have been there to see him working out what that smell was. Are you serious? That's nasty. Probably attract some ants. Oh, that would be so gross after a couple of days. Ugh. My girlfriend and I worked together at a casino. She decided to cheat on me with a security guard in the casino. I heard from people I worked with that he was close to getting fired because of tardiness. Casino is strict on time in and time out. Company holiday party came. I knew the guy had work at 8 a.m. and he was going to be staying in the hotel the party was at. Hotel wasn't part of the casino. The casino was about a 45-minute drive from the party. At any rate, that night I deflated his 2 front tires. That is, removed the pin within the valve stream with a 50-cent tool from an auto parts store. Since he had only one spare, yeah, you know where this is going. My girlfriend calls up the next morning and asks me if I flattened his tires. I played dumb. Sure enough, he was late and that was his last tardiness, and now it leads to termination. This was about 10 years ago. The guy was a total to me at work and made my life hell. In hindsight, it was messed up, but at least I realize now that I still got back at him. Like it.
Good job, son.
But truth be told, honey, you shouldn't only blame the guy she cheated with, you should blame her too. Just saying. Takes 2 to tango. This ended up being a mistake in retrospect. But when I was 18 and still in high school, I found out my ex was cheating on me. I decided the solution was for me to cheat on her. I did. No one told her. I decided that maybe if I cheat on her with a friend of hers, then that'll get back to her. I did. No one told her. Oh God. This continues. In less than 2 months, I've cheated on her with her entire circle of friends. This is 7 girls plus another 10 girls that knew her. At the end, I just got frustrated and broke it off. I told her I knew she cheated and that I cheated with her entire friend group. She didn't believe me. Oh, you need Jesus. That's terrible. Her entire friend group, man? Yeah, that's you took that a little far. Hope you learned from that mistake. We were students in the same course. I started a rumor that a certain topic would be on the final exam the next day, and he fell for it, studying only that and nothing else. Probably why he hated me till today. I like that. I like that. That's sneaky. Oh yeah, that's good. I'm assuming he failed. A couple years after a divorce, I finally got the house we bought together sold. The IRS sent us a check in the mail for $1,000 for a reason I can't remember. I was able to find a way to get the money without her having to sign it, even though the check was made out to both of us. I took it and went shopping for camping gear. Never told her about it. She never found out. Thank you, Chase Bank. Wow, sneaky. Hey man, if it was addressed to both of you. I mean, technically only half of it is yours, but what your ex doesn't know won't hurt her. And you, most importantly, won't hurt you. Made her sister fall in love with me, then started dating someone else. It wasn't on purpose, but if it was, it would have been the best revenge ever. All right, it wasn't on purpose. Come on, man. Flirting, a light flirting is one thing, but like made her fall in love with you? It's your words, not mine. Made her sister fall in love with me. Savage. I pawned his PlayStation 4 and used the money to sponsor a pig at the local petting zoo, which I named after him. Yo! First, middle, and last. So there's no confusion. I shamed my ex-girlfriend into leaving not only the city, but also the time zone. 2 of them, in fact. How'd you do that? Can you teach me? I wonder what she did. They did. Married someone who was way better at sex. How will they know that, though? Just saying. Dated a new girl and was happy. Ex had a Twitter meltdown. Don't they always? I'm just like waiting for the day I get like engaged and then all the exes come out of the woodwork and just, you know, maybe they'll object at my wedding. Who knows? You're too late. I didn't return one of her paperback books to her after she cheated on me. Nice. That's my favorite. I love ending up with their books, but then they also end up with yours, so that sucks. My last relationship, I was like, I need my book back. Give me The Alchemist back. That's mine. Ain't nobody taking The Alchemist from me. He kept my hoodie though, so it's fine.
Hide the pain.
When my ex-husband and I got divorced, the only thing he wanted was a bottle of really expensive champagne. Someone had given us both as a gift. I had taken it when I'd moved out, and he wouldn't let it go, saying it was a present to him, not us. So I took the bottle over to his place, and when he opened the door, I poured out half of it on his doorstep before walking away saying, "There's your half of the bottle." My girlfriend of 6 years left me for another dude, so I dated her best friend for 2 years. Turns out I should have dated the first for 2 and the second for 6, but who knows this shit growing up. Yeah, well, that's awkward. That's awkward. Were they still best friends after that? I'm curious. He cheated on me with my best friend, so I slept with both of his at the same time. That is what I'm talking about, honey. I told him he could keep using all of my cable passwords because I wanted to keep our breakup civil. Then I changed the passwords 2 minutes before the Game of Thrones finale. Oops. Oh, that's so mean. I I signed up both him and the woman he cheated with to win trips on like 17 different cruises, a swingers cruise, a sugar baby cruise, and over 50 cruise. Those people never stop calling. Wow, that is mean. I love it. I superglued his deodorant, shaving cream, toothpaste, and hairspray closed. Flipped all the batteries in his remotes and rubbed sugar water all over his counter so that they would be unbearably sticky. What the hell? Oh my goodness, who thinks of this shit, yo? My ex cheated on me with a girl from work who didn't know we were together. So one day I made flyers that said, "Lost dog, if found, watch the F out." Then I put cutout photos of him on the flyers and placed them all over his car while he was inside his workplace. Oh God. Ooh. Yeah, that's petty, dude. That's petty as hell. I threw slices of cheese on his windshield in the summer so they would be melted on his car by the time he saw them. Hell yeah! I love it. My ex who I lived with suddenly broke up with me, his excuse being that he needed to find himself. Oh yeah, I love that one. Well, we shared an Amazon account, so after he moved back in with his parents, I shipped him a compass using his own credit card. The note enclosed read, "Hope this helps you find yourself." Oh shit. That's gotta sting.
Ouch, baby. Very ouch.
I got in a car accident on Valentine's Day and my ex was too busy to help me, and then 2 days later he dumped me. Well, he hated my love for arts and crafts, especially glitter, so I sent him a big bag of dick gummies, an eat a dick card, and a glitter everywhere envelope. I just wish I could have seen the look on his face when he opened them. Nicely done. I sent him a text a few days later that said, "Breakup sex this weekend?" He responded with, "Yes, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you." Then I screenshotted it and sent it to Text From Your Ex Instagram page and waited for it to get posted. He saw it and was not happy. That is how it's done, girl. Yes. Oh, this was fun. This was fun, right? You guys enjoy this? Do you want a part 2? I might have to give you a part 2 even if you don't want it. Sorry. Bullied me in the 6th grade.
I got my revenge 15 years later.
Lol. I had a bully in middle school who used to torment the life out of me by beating me up, pouring water on me, locking me in bathrooms, making fun of my weight, etc. I recently saw on Facebook that he's engaged, so I stupidly thought of a petty revenge plan. I used an old Instagram account and posed as a pretty woman and DM'd him. Is this going where I think it's going? I think it is. 20 minutes later, he messaged me back. 20 minutes, eh? That's all it took? 20 minutes. We chatted where I pretended to be a woman and he began to flirt. Wow. All it took was 20 minutes, eh? 20 minutes and a couple messages. I screenshotted all his spicy messages in case he might unsend them, including the pics that he sent. I forwarded those screenshots to his fiance and bada boom, the engagement photos from their Facebook were deleted the next day. Was this too much? I mean, listen, I think that he messed up on his own. You just helped him along. You assisted. They say that bullies can change, right? Like kids are kids and whatever, and like they were immature and stuff like that. But like I honestly strongly believe that if you're like that as a kid, you're probably gonna be a crappy adult. That's why it's so important to teach our kids that it isn't okay to bully. Like, I know that like bullying and cheating doesn't like, it's not synonymous, but at the same time, it doesn't exactly surprise me. You saved her from a horrible marriage. Good work. I don't know, maybe she would have ended up getting bullied. Yeah, I don't believe in testing your partner, but I can't argue with the results here. It's pretty comical from the bully's point of view that this could have been avoided at multiple stages of his life. All we had to do was not be an asshole. This is what I'm saying. All of this happened because of how you treated someone. Your decisions led to this point. You basically just did a loyalty test and he failed. He did this to himself. That's what I'm saying, like, his fault. I gave my ex's newly published book a bad online review. I've never even read it. Go on. He lied. He cheated and abandoned me with his baby over 16 years ago. Today I found his book being sold online. Well, in that case, I wouldn't read it either, babe. There was something about seeing his name again that struck terrible, painful memories and a desperate need for revenge. In my rage, I reviewed his book with the comment, paraphrased, Stephen King ripoff. Skip this one if you value your free time. A complete waste of money, energy, and time. No good characters, contrived plot, terrible dialogue. I'm pretty sure an edgy, semi-illiterate teen wrote this. Oh, God. Oh. Did you have your name attached to it? I'm just like worried about that a little bit. Childish, I know, but I feel a little better, honestly. I hope it stings him like hell. All right, we all know I'm petty. We all know I'm petty. I've never done anything like this because I truly believe that sometimes it's better to move on, to forgive but not forget. But I've never been in a position like this. So like I've never been treated this badly. And maybe if I was, who knows? I'm always of the opinion that we should read things before we review them. Like we shouldn't just like review things that we haven't read or seen. Like, would you want to read an entire book that your cheating ex wrote? Probably not. Could be worth more child support now though. Oh, doubtful. It's very hard to get a book off the ground. How successful is he? If I had to choose between child support and his ego getting punched, I'd take the ego punch. Satisfaction is worth more than money to me. Priceless. Absolutely priceless. You also have to like go to court and stuff, and like that is painful, okay? I've never been to court. I know people who've been to court over things like petty revenge court. It's a long process, and you end up paying a lot of money like initially because you have to get a lawyer, and like if you lose, then you have to pay money, and you know, it's like it's a lot. It's a lot of work. This is just subtle, you know, like a subtle it might not even affect him, you know? People write negative things on the internet all the time without ever having actually seen or read something. Why is it any different if you do it to someone who hurt you? Then I feel like you actually have a reason to do it, you know? Like sometimes I read like negative stuff and I'm like, I don't know you. Like, I don't know why you hate me so much. But this makes sense. I made it so they wouldn't ever get a job in their chosen degree. So I was bullied mercilessly in high school by a group of 3 girls. This lasted for over a decade. They went out of their way to make my life miserable, and I even skipped days of school on a weekly basis because I was so afraid of them. Can relate. Can relate. It's been 3 years since then, and I recently saw that 2 of them got degrees. The other isn't important. We'll call the 2 Katie and Becky. Why is it always Becky? I am trying to get over what they did, and I'm in therapy and on a few different anxiety and depression medications. So when I saw that they got their degrees, I tried to look past it, but the degrees they got both angered me and worried me. Katie got an animal care degree, and Becky got a degree to be a mental health nurse. Stop. Stop! The irony! Oh, I love dramatic irony. Ooh, delicious.
Yummy!
I thought it was a joke, but I was wrong. I didn't know what I was doing at first, but once I started, I couldn't stop. I wrote a long status on Facebook about what I'd endured at their hands. Cliff notes. 1, my phone was thrown in the sink at school. 2, they'd kick at my ankles in sports classes. 3, they'd comment on my weight, glasses, crooked teeth, and home life. 4, they made a category at prom for most likely to end themselves, and I was the only candidate. It was coincidentally taken out before the tutors could see. 5, they would hide my sports clothes and replace them with some that were too small. 6, they locked me in the gym cupboard until after lunch when another class came to use it. No proof, but I knew it was them. 7, they'd follow me home and try to barge me into the roads. 8, they'd stab my arms with pens and pencils in class. These are just a few I mentioned in my posts. There are a lot more and some a lot worse. I tagged them in the post and mentioned their names. Oh, you added them many times and pinned it to the top of my page. A lot of people are telling me I'm being petty, and I know I am, but I don't care. When someone tells you you're being petty, just say, thank you. I know.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
There was an argument in the comments between us and so many other people on all sides, but it soon stopped. I didn't take the post down. Out of nowhere, Becky messaged me privately apologizing for what she put me through and the time blaming it on youth and immaturity. Okay. Why was the apology not given before there was a post? She asked if I could take the post down and that she'd grown as a person since then. Only 3 years after the prom category thing. Oh, I've grown so much in 3 years. So much. I'm a different person. Completely different person. I have been through a lot in 3 years. You can be, but like 3 years, you wouldn't change that much. I was contemplating taking the post down, but not even a day later, I found out her true intentions. In my country, a potential employer will look at someone's social media as a character reference, and an unknown person sent me an email asking if they could keep screenshots of my posts and the comments on file. I agreed. Oh, that's the ticket. That was a boss. That was a potential employer. As long as my post is up, neither of them are likely going to get a job in their field, and I'm glad about it. The irony of a bully getting a degree in mental health. You're an expert on that, eh? You kind of the reverse psychology thing. Let's inflict trauma on people, and then they will come to us to fix their trauma. I got a DM from someone who wasn't exactly kind to me, not the actual bully, but they associated with them, apologizing for her behavior because now her kid was getting teased at school and is miserable. I forgave her for my well-being, not theirs, but it stings how they only change their tune when one of theirs gets hurt that way. You know, come to think of it, I've only ever gotten an apology from someone who was friends with the bullies too. You know, like didn't actively participate, but still like giggled and laughed. Never from an actual bully themselves. Interesting. Oh, and come to think of it, I also was apologized to by someone I used to live with who was horrible to me to the point where I had to move out. And she apologized for treating me terribly. I accepted the apology. And then like slowly after that, she essentially slid into the DMs after she apologized because she wanted something. And then said, hey, like, could you take down this like incriminating picture of me? I did take it down, but it's like ironic that you only apologize when you want something. Should have left it up.
Oh, would you look at that? Just look at that.
My son's name helped me get a small dose of petty revenge against a girl who constantly tried to compete with me in high school. So when I was in high school, I was on the speech and debate team. If you're unfamiliar, think drama club meets Young Democrats / Young Republicans. I mostly did the public speaking events that focused on real world political topics, and I loved it. I usually made it to finals in my events, but I had fun even when I didn't, and made some really great friends from other schools. If I wasn't in finals, I would go to watch others who were competing to support my teammates. There was a girl. There was a girl I saw at almost every tournament. There was a girl that I saw at almost every tournament. Let's call her M. M and I didn't do any of the same events because she focused more on the drama side of speech and debate. But M was constantly comparing herself to other people and would get really arrogant if she made it to finals in her events and I didn't make it to finals in mine. Anytime she didn't make it to finals in her events, she would cry and accuse the judges of not being fair and would then pout in the cafeteria all throughout finals and sometimes wouldn't even go to the awards to support her teammates who did win something. In conversation, she was also a big one-upper. Oh God, I hate one-uppers. Like you have to be so unbelievably insecure to one-up in a conversation constantly. For those of you who don't know what a one-upper is, it's when you say something that you're really, really proud of in a conversation, like, oh, like me and my boyfriend went to New York for our anniversary. And then they say,
oh, 5 years ago, my boyfriend took me on an all expenses paid trip to Italy and we had, first class flights and oh my God, it was just so amazing. But New York is fun.
Like they just like use that as an opportunity to sort of like neg you. You could never talk about anything fun or cool you did because she'd always done something cooler or more fun. If you've ever seen Glee, she was a real life Rachel Berry. She and I are still friends on social media, although we haven't personally spoken much since high school. I've watched her flaunt now 2 different failed engagements. No, sorry. That's petty. That's mean. I need to catch myself. Bitch, Charlotte. Bad. Bitch, Charlotte. Along with a slew of random jobs I've never seen work out for very long. I don't post as much on social media, so she didn't really know what was going on in my life. My long-term partner and I found out in early March that we were pregnant. We had been trying for a baby and didn't think it would ever happen because we'd been told by doctors that our chances of conceiving naturally were slim. So this baby meant everything to us. Before we even got pregnant, we agreed on a name, if we were to have the boy we both wanted. In high school, my grandmother told me that if she ever had a son, this was the name she was going to give him. However, she only had 2 girls. I fell in love with the name immediately and told her that if I ever have a son, I would give him this name. She passed away while I was in college, but I'm still in love with the name and fully intend to honor that promise I made to my grandmother. Thankfully, my partner also fell in love with this name when I told him about it. I love how you're not sharing the name, babe. Like, I love how, like, it's like, no, my name. I'm gatekeeping it. It's my name. As you should, babe. Flash forward to the present day, my partner and I were about a week from finding out if we were having a boy or girl. And then one day on Instagram, I see a post from Em announcing she is pregnant with a boy. She's due 2 months before me. At this point, I hadn't announced my pregnancy publicly yet, so Em didn't know. But some of our mutual friends knew. One of them, who was really close to her, informed me that she shared her baby name list with her and that the name my grandmother picked was on the list. This is why you gatekeep it. This is why you gatekeep. Em had specifically said that she remembered me talking about liking that name at a speech tournament in high school, and the name stuck with her ever since. Particularly because the name is shared by her favorite poet. I wonder what name it is. She told our mutual friend that name was her top choice, but her partner had a different preference, so they were still going back and forth about it. My partner and I recently found out we were having a boy, and we're using the name we love regardless of what Em names her baby. Because what difference is it really going to make, especially because we don't even live in the same state and these children will never meet. It's also not a unique or rare name by any means. So to us, it feels silly to act like only one of us can use it. Okay, fine. I'm just petty then. I'm petty. It reminds me of that scene in Sex and the City, you know, the like Charlotte baby name scene where that girl.
What's going on?
She stole my baby name.
You. Let's go.
You. Let's go. This is where I got my small dose of petty revenge. After we learned the gender of the baby, we decided to go ahead and announce our pregnancy publicly. And since we already had his name picked out, it's something we know we're not going to change our minds about since it had so much sentimental value. We decided to include his name in the announcement. So, Em learned that I was also pregnant, having a boy, and using the name I loved. I would be lying if I said I hadn't thought about Em's reaction when my partner and I made the decision to also announce our baby's name. Em hasn't said anything to me about the baby or about the name choice, but apparently she had a lot to say to our mutual friends. She said if she can talk her partner into it, she still wants to use that name for her son. And that since her baby will be born first, if I do end up using it for my son as well, then I'm just copying her. Oh, yeah? Okay. She sounds like a fan of you, babe. Like, she sounds a little obsessed. She's apparently become obsessed with trying to find out details about my pregnancy and my relationship with my partner since I don't post much on social media. I swear I did not read that next sentence before I said that. I think I'm a psychic. Like, I'm a witch, guys. She's been harassing our mutual friends, asking about me to the point where several of them are starting to cut ties with her because it's getting to be too much. Fan behavior, babe. Even her partner has reportedly told her that she's going overboard and apparently vetoed this name to their son because he thinks she's too weirdly fixated on it and me and wants her to stop stirring the pot. Sounds like she peaked in high school. Still reliving her high school days, eh? This is what I'm saying. Like, people don't like change that much. Like, if you're like that as a kid. So I'm having a baby with a man of my dreams, getting to finally use the name my grandmother fell in love with decades ago. And as an added bonus, my friends from high school are finally seeing how weird Em is for the way she constantly tries to compete with different people. For the people who keep commenting asking the name, though I shared it in 10 different comment threads at this point, his name is Joe. Joe Mama. Ah! Editing again to add that if you didn't catch the joke and actually thought the name is Joe, that's on you. You gatekeep that, babe. You gatekeep that until you die. Well, people will know once the baby's born, but you know, this is why we gatekeep, all right? I took my house with me. Do tell. This is long, so settle in with a drink. You'll want a hard drink and some popcorn. My loss is your gain. I don't have a drink. I don't drink while I'm working. I'm sorry.
Beer, 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 beer.
But one thing that I've learned is I can actually enjoy things sober. Been sober for about a month now. It's kind of nice.
I'm so fun, I promise.
I'm gonna start by saying I don't care if I'm the a-hole or not. This isn't that post. Okay, go off, queen. We love a self-aware queen. Remember, we can be a-holes. Sometimes we need to be the a-hole in someone else's story. My 27 female and my husband, 32 male, we'll call him Matt, had a great relationship when we were dating. It wasn't until I met his parents, specifically mother, that I had a small idea of what I was getting into. When we would see his mom, she would make little comments about what I was wearing. That just doesn't look quite right on you, dear. Or have you tried to find that in a bigger size? Although before we could leave the house, Matt always said I looked great. He still replied to her that it wasn't his favorite look on me either.
Yeah, I don't like that. She doesn't look very good, does she? Yeah, I love you, Mom.
Lots of red flags that I ignored, believing they were no big deal. Fast forward to after our wedding. We had bought a beautiful house. I have an amazing job that I love, and the bonus to it is I was pulling 6 figures with it. Ooh, love that for you. Yes, successful queen. The house was bought under my name because his credit was horrible. He didn't like that, did he? The little negging that's going on, trying to knock you down a peg a bit. I see what's going on here. Matt was working as well, but wasn't making half of what I was bringing home. But it never bothered me. Well, it doesn't bother you. They don't like it though. Kind of hurts their ego a bit. I don't think his parents knew where our money was coming from though. All they saw was our gorgeous home and assumed he was the main breadwinner. That's interesting that his mom was so willing to like criticize you and like also didn't know that you were the main breadwinner. I don't know if she would have been so quick to criticize if she knew the full story. I kept hearing little comments when I was supposed to be busy doing other things from his mother to him about how I was a gold digger and didn't deserve him. I never mentioned it, thinking first of all, I wasn't supposed to overhear it, and second, I'm sure he'd set the record straight. Why would he do that? He's hearing all the right things from his mommy he never heard. She's so proud of him and his beautiful house. He should get a prettier wife. A year into our marriage, Matt's mom, who had been visiting our home quite often by this point for weeks at a time, brought up moving in with us. Maybe if you were like nice. We had an ADU, aka granny flat unit behind the house, and I knew they were struggling with their house payment, so I agreed to it until they could find somewhere else they could afford. Yeah, something tells me they're not gonna leave. Yeah, they're gonna stay there with you forever. Shortly after they moved in, Matt and I set up a vacation to Maui and asked if his parents could come with us. I wasn't keen on the idea, but he assured me that they wouldn't be staying with us and would do their own thing. Then he told me that we would be paying for it. So in other words, you would be paying for it. Just a family of freeloaders, eh? I reluctantly agreed, telling him that I wasn't going to pay for their food or extra spending, and he agreed. When the day came for us to leave, I woke up late. My alarm clock had been turned off, even though I was sure I had set it. Nobody was home. The plane was boarding at the same time I woke up. What? I frantically tried calling all 3 of them, and each of their phones kept going to voicemail. I had an awful feeling, think Home Alone, and decided to check our Ring camera. What I saw absolutely took my breath away. Oh God, I kind of wish I had a drink right now. I'm kidding. All 3 of them were walking out the door, suitcases in hand, laughing and joking about what a great vacation they were going to have without you. Oh, I can't believe the next sentence I just read also. Matt's mom even mentioned that she couldn't wait for him to meet another girl that was going. I called my travel agent and found out that they had switched my name on the ticket without my knowledge. In her defense, she didn't know it wasn't me changing the name. And yes, I was charged for that too. Oh my goodness. Ooh. You should never where you eat, what I always like to say. I wasn't as surprised as I expected I should have been. I was more just ready to take action. You moved in the shadows, Dr. Evil. As stated at the beginning of this, the house was in my name and mine alone. I love that you never put his name on the house. You hold all the cards. I immediately contacted my realtor and explained the situation. We immediately got to work. Gotta change those locks. Put all the stuff outside on the lawn. 2 days later, I get a phone call from him profusely apologizing to me, saying there was a mix-up somewhere along the lines and they thought I was meeting them at the airport. By the time they realized I wasn't there, it was too late to turn back. Oops. You actually think that she would believe that? That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You all lived in the same house and you didn't think to wake her up before you all left for the airport together? No one would believe that. Not to mention, she's got you all on camera kikiing about how much fun you're gonna have without her. Matt also told me he's sure I've realized by now that he had my credit card to put gas in the car on the way to the airport, and charges were no longer going through. Oopsie. That's the only reason he called you, bestie. It's because you're his meal ticket. Or you were his meal ticket. I told him I had no idea what was wrong with my credit card, even though I called and reported it missing, so of course they turned it off. I hung up with him after wishing him and his parents an amazing vacation. I knew he wasn't gonna realize that I also contacted my travel agent and canceled the return flights until they got to the airport. How are they going to get home? 2 weeks later, I was at home and I received a call from him in hysterics asking why their flight has been canceled. I told him there must have been some sort of mix-up somewhere along the lines and wasn't sure. I figured since I wasn't there, they could pay for their own way home. He did end up transferring money from our joint savings to cover it, but whatever. The next morning, he called me again, freaking out, asking why they were locked out of the house and wanted to know where I was. I don't know, there must have been some sort of mix-up. I didn't answer his first question, but I told him I was at home. He seemed to momentarily relax and asked me to open the door for him. After going to my front door and not seeing anybody outside, I told him that I think he had the wrong house and hung up. My phone was being blown up by all three of them, mostly him and his mom. I sent them all clips from the Ring camera, which I had saved and sent to my attorney, and the address to the storage unit where I had their belongings moved to when I sold my house. That was great. I loved that.
Satisfying.
3 days after that, I had divorce papers served to Matt at a motel he was staying at with his mom and dad. I've been happily divorced now for 3 years. That was delectable. I can't believe that. My God. What a horrible thing to do. Not you, no, what you did was great. Everyone is praising you in the comments, and I'm gonna give you some praise too. That was fantastic, my dear. I'm like really confused about the fact that you sold your house so quick. Thank you for sharing, my dear. Let's all give her a round of applause. God, I love it when freeloaders get cut off. This, my dear, you get an A. Man, I was really hoping you had bought a plot of land and had the house picked up and physically moved there. That would have been satisfying. Imagine coming home from all the self-inflicted debacles of the vacation to find your house gone, just missing. Just that little extra mile. You know, you still got an A. That would have made it an A+. Karma bit my boss in the butt after insulting me in front of guests. I started working in a hotel after I graduated from high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life and decided to take a break. At work, I got very uncomfortable times, and sometimes I had to take double shifts. Let me point out that I didn't get an introduction, but was thrown into the job and had to learn everything on my own. I don't want to brag about myself, but I'm a very quick learner. That's not bragging, that's just stating facts. My boss was an a-hole. He would yell at me in front of guests, call me stupid, and question why I couldn't do something. Well, a student is only as good as the teacher. Those of you who have worked in hotels and service know what hell you can have with guests, and they complain about the slightest thing to get their money back. I decided to quit because I couldn't handle being treated so recklessly. On my last day, I had a guest that I could already see when she stepped through the door that this woman is Lucifer sent from hell. Goody. It's summer and the hotel is fully booked. She pushes her way into the queue and yells at everyone. No one could stand her, so they let her pass. She reserved 3 rooms for 12 people, 3 double rooms for 12 people. I explained this was not allowed and there were no rooms left. Then she starts yelling at me and wants to talk to my boss and threatened to post me on Facebook. Okay, Karen, you think people care? My boss came out and apologized to this Karen and said I hadn't worked there for long. Bruh, it was my 2nd year. He upgraded one of their rooms and downgraded another guest's rooms who hadn't checked in. He thus let 3 people stay in a double room plus and the rest divided into 2 double rooms standard. Whatever floats your boat. This sounds like it's about to be very chaotic though. The manager scolded me in front of all the guests for saying to him that it was unfair to those who were downgraded who had paid more for the room, but that it also went against the rules for fire risk. The boss was furious when I said that, and there would be a deduction from the salary and I would not be allowed to work there. I was really angry. I thought it was my last day and I decided to take revenge. The next guest that was going to check in after Karen turned out to be the guest who had been downgraded. The guest asked about which room they had been given and wanted to double check if it was the same room they paid for. I knew I would get in for it, so I decided to tell the guests what had happened. I apologized and gave them a goodie bag. The guest was very surprised and wanted to talk to the manager. He wondered why they had been downgraded. The boss yelled at me and said I'm ignorant and stupid, that I was worthless and did not deserve anything good. He apologized to the guests and said that I lied. My eyes filled with tears and couldn't say anything. But here's the best part. It turned out the guests who were downgraded were inspectors. Woohoo! Who were unloaded as a couple to see how the hotel worked. My boss had to apologize to me at a staff meeting and was later fired for what he had done. Karma, my friends, it always comes back like a boomerang. Can we just like collectively let out a sigh of relief and happiness and just pure satisfaction? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Delightfully Petty. You stayed on my last day. I had a guest that I could already see when she stepped through the door that this woman was a Lucifer sent from hell. If this was your last day, how was it you were at a staff meeting after this event to get the apology? Seems fishy to me. OP responds, the inspectors took note of how he treated me. Therefore, I received a message from the CEO who invited me to their staff meeting. As it was me, he violated. I also got a job offer, but I turned it down. You might think it's weird, but I wanted to hear him apologize to me when he made me feel bad constantly for 2 years. 2 years, eh? I wouldn't be able to put up with that for like 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. My goodness. Guys, just so you know, you don't have to put up with people like that. There's a reason why there's like job bureaus and stuff, like people that you can report these types of things to. It might be a bit of a hassle to go through, but in the end, like you're also saving other people from being treated that way. The worst part is they treat you so poorly that you have to quit so you don't get severance. Terrible. Does anyone have like a good manager? Like I just feel like the vast majority of them really are just glorified high school bullies. I'm very curious to know. Let me know in the comments.
I have.
My dear, I wish you were just a little bit pettier. I wish you moved in the shadows. We're gonna give this one a B+. So, dad got a girl my age pregnant. Hey, not my story, but I was given permission to tell it. I'll tell it in first person. I'm Emma, 24, and my dad is 49, my mom 43. So in my high school years, my parents had problems, but they stuck together. Now in the beginning of the year, mom called me to come by the house. She explained that dad and her are getting a divorce because she found out he was cheating on her with Mrs. Smith from down the street. She also said she's suspecting there to be another woman who is much younger, but she couldn't get the evidence. Now, I'm obviously upset because mom and dad are getting a divorce and he's in a relationship with Mrs. Smith, who was like an aunt to me. I make peace with it and move on. Sometime in April, dad proposes to Mrs. Smith and they plan to get married in September. I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but I suck it up and help where I can. I thought, he's still my dad, so whatever. Karma will find him. The one thing about Karma, she's a petty. Now, Mrs. Smith has a daughter around my age. Oh. Don't say what I think you're about to say.
But do say it, yes, please.
I know what you're thinking.
Let's call her Alex. She was my childhood friend and would spend nights at my place when her parents were having problems. She was like a sister. She eventually left to stay with her dad once her parents got a divorce. She would occasionally come home, mostly if her mom was out of town. I remember seeing her in January of this year. Remember this, it's important for later. Now, obviously, Alex needs to come home since her mom is getting married. To my surprise, she was pregnant. Okay, so he cheated on your mama with Mrs. Smith, but then also cheated on Mrs. Smith with her daughter and got her pregnant. What do we like to say on this channel? Once a cheater, always a cheater. Believe me, if they've found the audacity once, they're sure as find it on sale again. We tried asking who the baby daddy is, but she would always shut down the question or avoid it. Strange, but okay, I won't dig. Fast forward to the wedding day and everyone is looking pretty, and my mom got an invite. She didn't show up because she was with her new boo on vacation. Ooh, love that for her. I'm there to get tea for mom. Okay, but you need to tell me everything. And be a somewhat supportive daughter. Internally, I spit on this wedding and spit on his bird poo looking suit. Now comes the golden time of the wedding. Does anyone have a reason for these two people to not get married? Alex stands up and says, I do. Everyone turns around and is like, what? Why? Okay, so little tidbit here of information. I thought initially that people don't really do does anyone have a reason for these people to not get married? I thought that was like something that people don't do anymore. I went to a wedding recently where they did say it. It was a little awkward. Like nobody said anything, but it was like definitely dampened the mood a bit. Cause like I do feel like there were some people who had a reservation or two about the couple. Like don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, you know what I mean? People who are like, oh, they don't say that at weddings. weddings anymore. It's like, actually, they do. So just throwing that out there. Alex walks up with the baby and says to my dad, you need to pay child support. And here is the DNA test. If you refuse, I'll drag you to court. Well, that's dramatic. I love it. Mrs. Smith fainted on the spot. The wedding was a mess. I rushed Alex to find out what exactly happened. Like, did you not know your dad was dating your mom? Turns out when she came to the house in January, she thought my dad and her mom were just close friends. He once found her drinking and decided to join her. One thing led to another. In her defense, she has a thing for older men, so that didn't surprise me. What was disgusting was she knew that was my dad. I mean, yeah. It's one thing to have a thing for older men. It's another thing to, giggity, your friend's dad. You're high on the list of people I dislike automatically if you do that. So girl, that's nasty. Keep your panties on. But what solved the mystery of who the younger woman was dad got his karma. Side note, Mrs. Smith was out of town for 1 week in January. Dad couldn't wait for 1 week. Please tell me they're together. Please tell me. Honestly, she kind of deserves it. Obviously, we're blaming the man in most situations, but we do blame the people that are like the home wreckers, right? Especially in a situation like this where you stole a man from somebody else. Yes, they were having problems in their marriage, but you still caused a divorce. You still cheated with a married man. And I'm sorry, but like, why did you think it would be different or better for you? It won't be, girl. It's not gonna be better. By rewarding that behavior, you're literally telling him that it's okay. You're telling him he can get away with behaving badly. He's not gonna be different for you. He's not.
You can't trust anyone.
No, you can't.
Oh God, my beauty line. Oh no! Now my true face is revealed. Some people are saying it's fake and everyone clapped. You know what? Everyone did clap. I'm clapping. This is honestly like, you didn't really do anything petty, but the karma that was served, Lady Karma, she gets a 10 out of 10. This was posted in Petty Revenge. Dumb boss cut my hours and lost his job. So from the age of 16 to 20, I worked at a 24-hour fast food joint. After having worked there for so long, I was very good at what I did, to the point that I could handle the entire store by myself as long as I needed, with little to no drops in customer satisfaction or speed. When I was 19, my grandfather got sick, which was really hard because I loved him to bits. My boss and I were close, so we worked out a deal where he would schedule me a ton and I would essentially be on call for any time he needed someone to cover a shift. I would also work a straight 24-hour shift on Monday, busiest day. A straight 24-hour shift? This sounds like slave labor to me. Like, what do you mean? Doctors work 24-hour shifts. I bet you were getting paid minimum wage too. Oh God, you were 19. That is insanity. Being alone for 8 hours, these piled on hours resulted in me getting around 10 to 15 hours of overtime per week, sometimes more. Okay, I guess maybe it might have been worth it for you, sort of. This actually saved him money because one guy working for 17 bucks an hour at time and a half was cheaper than paying 3 guys 15 an hour to do the same work, allowing him to make way bigger profits. This allowed him more leeway and rep with corporate, meaning he would get bigger bonuses, and he could give me a raise after around 6 months, citing how well I worked. The other part was that I got a week off a month to visit my grandfather and assist him with his care or anything else I needed, while the extra money allowed for me to help pay for his treatment. Okay, so you're basically this guy's bitch, but I guess he is giving you a week off per month. I can't decide if it's worth it or not, even as it is. Our agreement went on for a year before he was promoted to regional manager, which was a big jump. He got the raise because our store was making like 15% more than the next highest performer, while being in a less traveled area. The new manager who took over for him was a piece of shit. Honestly, the amount of stories that I have heard personally from people who were so great at their jobs. They had an amazing boss that loved them, had experience with them. They'd been through it all together and they treated them well. And then this boss maybe retires or he gets promoted. And then the guy that replaces him or gal that replaces him is a complete asshat. My manager told him of our deal and he scoffed and said it was dumb because of how much overtime he would be paying me. My boss just shrugged, because even if the store's performance dropped, he would look better. And so my hours were lowered to like 30 a week, yet he was still calling me and scheduling me so low for 8 hours in full 24-hour shifts. Absolutely not! So I was working crap hours but getting paid less. He also stopped the week off a month so I couldn't see my grandfather. See, the thing is you seem to be in a position where because you're pretty much the only one that works there, if you leave, that store is kaput. Kaput. Yes, people are replaceable, but not if they're the only employee you have. So I quit, and he soon realized how he was. As I heard from my boss, the store profits dropped to 15% lower than the next lowest store in the region rather than the district. And the new GM was shortly fired for somehow dropping 125% in profits. And the guy tried to blame me for quitting. Nothing fancy, I just put in my 2 weeks notice, but I thought it was funny. It is indeed funny. That makes me super, super happy. I find it funny that he tried to blame everything on you, but it's like you were the key to that store having such high profits. If anything, he should have made you happy. You were happy with things as they were. Like, to me, that seems like a lot of work. That seems like a lot. But you were happy with it, and that's what matters, okay? All this manager had to do was keep you happy. And he couldn't even do that. Low-level employee quits and profits go down like the Titanic. Corporate wasn't buying it. I mean, yeah, no, that's a him problem. This is what we learned during COVID. Low-level employees are essential. High-level ones, not so much. Well, most of us learned it. Corporate and executives didn't learn so much. I heard this quote somewhere, and I don't really know where I heard it, but if you can't do the jobs of the lower-level employees, as a boss, there is something wrong with you. You should be able to take on the work of all of your lower level employees. Should they quit? Should they get fired? Whatever. And if you can't do that, that's your fault.
Tell me about a time where your boss was an utter dickhead.
So I've got a pretty juicy story for this. At the start of 2021, I left a pretty secure job for a job in the esports community, and it was to produce a new show, which basically was like Gogglebox meets gaming. Pretty fun idea, and we had some great celebrities lined up. Everything was going really well. It was a small team, it was a startup company, and it was basically my dream job. And I had the flexibility of like working from home because we didn't have a studio and we're all based around the country. And at the time, my boss seemed to just be like, you know what, I employ people who do their job really well so that I don't have to do my job. That bullshit. So after months of prep and planning, blah, 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 it got to May. Yeah. And we had filmed the first episode, went live, everything was great. I'm ready for the second one. And that's where things started to go very wrong.
Oh no.
I did something that my boss didn't seem to like. I did an edit of a video that went out on social media. It didn't even go out anywhere. I followed his list of like what he wanted and stuff, and oh my god, hell broke loose, and I was then just bombarded with so many insults to my character and to my work ethic. But these weren't just like normal like negative feedback you get on a piece of work. These were just disgusting comments. I got things like, you would make my dead dad roll over in his grave, you are beige, I just don't think you're very creative, you're not a creative person, blah 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 blah. And because of all that, I decided that, you know what, there were things that he said that I just can't even get out of my mouth because it's just so grim what he said. But I called my mum and my dad and I was like, I cannot work for this man. This is insane. Over one very small thing, he has just blown up at me and I just cannot work under these conditions. Things then got worse from that. He said because it was a Sunday, I couldn't quit, and my 1 week's notice didn't count. And because of me wanting to hand in my notice, he was actually going to extend it so that I had to work 4 weeks. Even though in my contract it said 1 week was fine, he said, I don't care, I'm going to make you work 4 weeks. I'm going to hire a private investigator because I think you've been looking for other jobs. I don't trust you. Even more insults like thrown my way, everything. It was hell. He would call me every single day, to the point where I was so anxious when I saw his name pop up on my phone, I would throw up and I'd have to call him back. I'd purposely miss his call because I was just so terrified of answering the phone. He then forced me to get everything ready for the second episode, because I would have put the whole team in trouble, like all this teamwork malarkey that he was throwing at me. Got everything ready for the second episode. Arrived on set with everyone. He didn't even turn up. The whole company went under. He knew it was going under. He didn't pay any of us and left.
You know what I smell? I smell a lawsuit. I smell money! You smell that? I smell money. I really, really do. Because what in the actual hell is going on? Okay, here's a thought. Here's a thought from the noggin. I feel like he just like wanted to make the case that everybody else was bad at their job so that he could just like leave. It's kind of like a cheater that's also cheating themselves that's blaming you for cheating, you know? Projection. Because what are you doing? Like, what's happening here? Lawyer here, 1 week notice only if that's what the contract says. Stay strong, don't be gaslit. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of funny that he thinks he can, like, just go against whatever the contract says. That's when you hit him with,
well, as per my contract.
I'd be happy to get a legal team involved. Watch them freak out. Watch them squirm in their boots. Okay, so interestingly, we actually have a video of her getting fired.
I spotted quite early that unfortunately, your creative skills aren't quite there.
Okay.
You're not the most creative. I think it's quite. I use the word beige in creative.
You think I've been looking for other jobs? You think
that's not lying?
But you think I'm lying that when I say I haven't because I said I haven't, and you think I am?
I've got to take a position on it. You know, I have to take a position on it. Why would you quit a £30,000 a year?
Because I'm not happy, Leo. Notice I would have to send you a letter.
And it's a week minimum. I'm actually going to make it 4 weeks.
I got it at like 1 a.m. Sunday morning.
Why didn't you send it to us?
Because I'm conscious it's 1 a.m. Sunday morning. You said it's not a work day, so.
No. When someone quits, it's not a work day.
Right.
So you got 1 a.m. on Sunday morning, but you didn't send it to us until like 11 o'clock on Sunday. What happened at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 6 a.m.?
I was asleep.
Maybe this is a lifestyle thing. It shows me you have no care for anyone moving forward.
I do.
Anyone asking about you and your work, I have to not be very polite. You probably give up too easily.
I don't, because I don't want to fight on it or anything like that. That's why I'm saying
because I'll be coming hard.
I don't want that to happen.
Hard.
What's going to happen? Because I think you've lied. I think you've been looking for jobs in my time, and from Wednesday to Friday, I don't know where you were.
So yeah, there are some things on that call that I couldn't even listen to because they were so horrible. But after that call and up until I arrived on set for the second episode, he made my life hell. He called me every day with abuse on the phone and broke me down. I'm very grateful I've been able to build myself back up with the roles I have now because I truly nearly lost myself after those months, and especially that phone call. Genuinely, no job, no matter how amazing the money is ever worth that. And I'm glad I kind of stood my ground against him, which I know he hated. I mean, I really did want to see all of these things where you claim he was going to hire a private investigator, because like, girl, if what you say is true, that's definitely grounds for a lawsuit.
The lawsuit has begun.
Yeah, honestly, my favorite part of this video was contract says 1 week, I'm going to make it 4 weeks. It doesn't work like that! It's in the contract! For sakes! This one's also from Petty Revenge. My boss fired me, so I took his master's and PhD title. I had a rich boss once. That was only rich because of the wealth from his grandparents. Guy was a complete and utter moron. He made nonsensical financial decisions and burned through hundreds of thousands of dollars in completely avoidable mistakes. But because he had money from his ancestors, he just shrugged off these losses and continued. Just because your family has money does not mean that you are smart or good at making money. In fact, it usually means quite the opposite. If you never had to bust your ass for your money, it probably means that you have no idea how to handle money or how to make money. You never needed to. Mommy and daddy and Nono and Nona just came to the rescue. Not all Nepo babies though. Not all Nepo babies. He also had only but the faintest idea about his company or how to lead or keep employees. I was basically keeping the company together. As such, I was the naysayer that blocked 90% of his stupid plans and decisions. Due to my negativity, I was fired. The guy was also arrogant as hell because he had a master's and PhD in economics. Did we fake our resume? Did we get it from one of those like fake universities. Cause yeah, I don't believe that. I thought, no way in hell can this guy have a master's and PhD. He's so damn stupid. Yeah, no, that's searchable. You can definitely look that up. So I searched for his master's and PhD thesis. I went to the university library, and what a surprise. On the second page of his master thesis, I found a text passage without citation. Wait. Okay. After like 40 minutes, I found another 10 passages he copied without citation. I spent only some 20 minutes examining his PhD thesis. I spent some 20 minutes examining his PhD thesis and found 2 cases. I made pictures of the text passages he copied and the books from where he took them and wrote an anonymous email to the university. Oh, he's a cheater. He's a big fat f***ing cheater is what he is. I find it very odd that he was even able to like get a PhD or a master's if this is how he got through university. Don't they check this stuff? And that's crazy that you like found the books where all of these passages came from. You sound smart. A year later, he lost both his master's and PhD because of his plagiarism. Whoa, not surprising, but like, how did he even get it in the first place? That is so embarrassing for that university. I know this from the people that still work with him because he exploded. The university just thanked me but told me they can't provide further info due to data protection. So either he had a ghostwriter write it for him who didn't care, or he copied and thought he would never be caught. He wrote both in the 80s. Okay, that's how he did it. Yeah, I was gonna say, cause like nowadays, like even I went to university like in the 2000s. There's no way you could get away with that. Like all you had to do is just like Google it. Like Google a passage, or like some profs don't even let you use Wikipedia. Like they want it to be in your own words. They need you to cite everything. Chances are many master's and PhD theses from these times are plagiarized because there were less possibilities to check. After all, imagine it's 1985 and you're at the University of Chicago, and during a trip to Miami, you visit the library and write the thesis there. If you change the title, there's almost a 0% chance that you would ever be caught. Whoa. Learned something new today. Now, I doubt anyone who ever got a master's or a PhD in the 80s went before. But still though, like, yes, you can't check manually, but like these profs know their shit, like inside and out. I just think it's weird. I think it's weird that he was able to get away with that. So if you have stupid bosses / people around you with a degree that are older and did you wrong, it might be worth your time to check their thesis. Ooh! You hear that? You hear that? You know, by the title of this, like I thought that you were saying that you took his title and they gave it to you instead because you're smarter. This is why I don't have a master's or a PhD. Hey, I never said I was smart, okay? Never once did I say I was intelligent. I'm not here putting master's and PhD on my resume. Under promise, over deliver. Honestly, by this account, it kind of seems like it's a lot harder these days to get a degree or to get a PhD. And imagine, some of those people with PhDs are doctors operating on your hearts. Plagiarized PhDs. I would hope that they wouldn't be. Like, I think that maybe doctor is where we draw the line. I think it would be a hard thing for a doctor to fake that they don't have a real PhD or they plagiarize to get it.
It's fake.
But still, now I'm questioning everything.
This employee just put on a master class of how to deal with an unreasonable bad boss. Okay, boss says, hey, I need you to come in at 12:07 a.m. It's midnight on a Saturday and it's your turn to be on call. Boss says he just had a ticket and he's too tired to run it. Sounds like a personal problem. That's why you're the boss and you get the big bucks. But hey, that's just me. The employee is not having it. Why do you think I'm not tired? I'm not doing. Good night. And then here is where the boss pulls the oldest trick in the book, but the employee handles it perfectly. If you don't run this ticket, I will consider you resigned from this position. But the employee is smart and he says, I'm not resigning. You'll have to fire me. Good night. Personally, I think this is hilarious because if the boss really could let this person go, they would have already. But they're clearly short-staffed and he wants other people to do his work for him, so he's not letting an employee go. He called his bluff.
And again, if they fire you, they have to pay you severance. So just be an insubordinate until they do. Just make sure you draw it out for like 3 to 6 months. Like, don't be overtly terrible at your job, but don't be like put in like 65% of the effort that you're capable of. Why are people responding during their off time? That's a good point. Why are we responding during our off time? Why? You know we don't have to answer, right? Put that phone on do not disturb and do not be disturbed.
This guy